Yeah, it's funny. I've got my main channel that gets thousands and thousands of views every day, and it's up to an average of like 85,000 views a day. This one gets a few hundred. Here I am making a video for this because I want to talk about something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and I'm pretty sure I've never covered it before. All right, I did a quick check, and I've discussed my top 10 favorite TV shows at the time. My favorite shows have changed since then somewhat. Now, I want to talk about my favorite shows of all time. Because something I was talking to Yvonne about the other day that was interesting. We do watch a lot of television together. And is a sitcom one with a laugh track and a non sitcom is one without a laugh track? And we kind of agreed that, yeah, it is. Kind of, sort of. Although there's one on this top 10 list that I don't really qualify as a sitcom, but it kind of is. So, yeah. Honorable mentions. It's quite a list of honorable mentions because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I could say Bionic Woman, but I can't say it with a straight face. There are some old series that when I try to watch them back, I'm like, wow, I don't know what I was thinking. When I was a little kid, the first crush I ever had was on Lindsay Wagner, who was a Bionic Woman. Wonder Woman was a close second, Linda Carter. But anyways, Star Trek Next Generation, which had an incredible run, great show. Knight Rider, which is not really something I can watch back, but the theme song still gets stuck in my head. South Park, which has had an amazingly long run, and some episodes are better than others. So South Park, to me, it's in getting on this list, consistency is part of it, but there are some on this list that consistency is an issue, and I'll talk about that. WKRP in Cincinnati, absolutely hilarious. It doesn't get better than the Turkeys. I actually last night I ordered the entire series because it finally went on special on Amazon for $40 for the entire series, and I said, okay, that's fine. I'll go ahead and order that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having that in my collection and sharing the Turkeys episode with my wife, who's never seen it. Because how do you not see? Swear to God, I thought turkeys could fly. It's just there's so many things, and then there's the phone cops. There's so many great things in WKRP, and it also tackled some issues that now I don't think situation comedies would tackle. But it's one of my favorites. The Flash, which some seasons are better than others. This season's been kind of a miss for me overall, kind of sorta. Also, honorable mention to Legends of Tomorrow, and there's some stuff going on in the DC universe that's pretty good. And Titans. I just finished season 1, no spoilers. Season 2 releases on Canadian Netflix today, so I'm going to hop on my treadmill and try to catch up on as much of season 2 as I can. I'm going to binge watch my way through that. My favorite character right now is Wonder Girl, which means she's going to die. My favorite characters always die. Although comic book characters, they always come back to life, right? Dark Matter, which doesn't fall into the top 10 because I don't like how it ended or that it ended. There was still a story to be told and they just went, it's canceled. I still hate sci-fi for that. If you're watching this sci-fi, not a fan. Smallville gets an honorable mention. Smallville would have absolutely been top 10 if they had stopped at season 5. It went on too long. And the last couple seasons of Smallville were pretty hard to watch. Clark, scared to fly. As soon as it was, okay, Kara's going to teach you how to fly, I'm scared of falling down. You're Clark frickin' Kent. You can fall off a mountain and you don't get hurt. Fly around with your... Anyways. And kudos to the DC Universe for the fact that now they've retconned that Smallville into this universe. So that's kind of fun. Supergirl for being better than it should be. It's not quite good enough to be in the top 10, but it's better than it should be with the series based on Supergirl. There's a lot of complaints about, there aren't any strong female superheroes. There never were. There really never was. You had Wonder Woman, who was wearing as little clothing as possible, and almost every other superhero was just the female version of a male superhero. It's pretty darn close. There are some exceptions people will bring up in the comment section below, but for the most part, the female superheroes were just there, and you didn't really have that Iron Man among the female superhero characters. So it's nice to see they're trying to even it out. Sometimes they try too hard. I agree. There's that shot in Avengers Endgame where I rolled my eyes and said, "Oh, okay, that's really heavy-handed and really obvious. All that's missing is the director going, hey, do you notice I put all the women together in this scene? Yeah, we noticed. It's really heavy-handed. But, Dexter gets an honorable mention. Dexter would have absolutely been smashing through this top 10 list if it had just been based on the Trinity season. The season of the Trinity Killer is one of the most amazing things in television history. That season is so intense. Oh my God, that there's that one scene where I actually got up out of off my couch and went, "This is happening." Where Trinity's in, he's there. He's at the police station, eye to eye with Dexter. Oh my God! And to this day, that was just an amazing performance by John Lithgow. That whole season's great, and then it went every season after, coming to the point where the last episode you're kind of laughing at it, which is not good for a show about a serial killer. I've also got Twin Peaks as an honorable mention. The original series was great. Not entirely rewatchable, though. I've tried, and it's not entirely rewatchable. And then the Return, the new series, lost me. I never finished it. I just never finished it. I just couldn't do it. I was like, this is not the show that I remember. I get that's what David Lynch is going for, but I'm done. I can't do this, so I gave it up. I would give an honorable mention to The Walking Dead if it was more consistent. So, it was more consistent. And Fear the Walking Dead, which I loved the show, and then they changed showrunners and decided to wipe out the family that the show had been about, and I went, okay, and I stopped watching. It was like, I liked those characters, and as a result of me liking those characters and the way that they just unceremoniously killed them off, because, we've got to push this guy from the main show. You know what? You guys don't care about Fear the Walking Dead, and you want to make it just The Walking Dead Jr.? I don't care about Fear the Walking Dead either. How do you like them apples? I don't like them apples, Will. That's from Good Will Hunting 2, Hunting Season. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Anyways, so I have not pre-planned this at all. Number 10, which one would I knock off the list first? We'll start with this one. Andromeda. So Andromeda went off the air a long time ago. These are my favorite shows of all time. Andromeda, the 5th season was divisive among fans of the show. They wanted to see something big. Some big epic send-off. And it really was kind of a relaxed first half of that season. And it built to something. But you know what? I enjoyed it. I really did. I liked Doyle. I liked everything they were doing. I liked the fact that the characters evolved that season. I thought it was really well thought out. I know people like the early seasons more generally. I thought it got better as the series went along. I thought Series 1 was okay, and then it became a really good show. So for me, Andromeda is still one that I thought was pretty good. I thought it ended at the right time. Sometimes the best thing about a show is knowing the right time to go out. And not every show on this list knows how to do that. Number 9. Sitcom. Cheers. Cheers shows its age a little bit if you try watching it back now, but it's still funny. There is nothing funnier than Cliff with the buzzer where he's getting an electric shock every time he says something obnoxious. It is one of the greatest scenes in history. There's Frasier running around with scissors in the bar. There's Frasier trying to help Woody make the video for Kelly's parents, and just looking at Kelly and going, "You're hopeless, aren't you?" And her starting to cry. There are so many moments in Cheers, and you're not as stupid as you look, Woody. He said, "I'm not as stupid as I look, Sam." He's getting ready to fight with him. There are just so many great one-liners and great moments. Every Norm joke is great. And it has aged very well out of a decade where not very many things from the 80s have aged very well. I don't know if you've noticed if you watch shows lately, but Cheers does. Number 8, which one am I going to knock off next? All right, this one's stuck around too long. So next year is the last year, or this year is the last year. I don't know. I haven't watched Supernatural regularly in about 5 years. Every now and then I'll sit down and watch an episode. There's nothing on TV. And I'll go, Supernatural's on. I'll sit down and watch it. And I go, all right. And I don't feel the need to return to the show. I don't feel the need to catch up on what was going on. I just go, okay, so, because season 5 ended with them beating the devil. So it felt like that was a good spot to end it, which Eric Kripke agreed with. That's why he wrote it as a 5-season arc. And CW's like, no, we got to keep making episodes because it's making money. So it's just been dragged along. You want a show that is the dead horse? It's Supernatural. I love Jensen Ackles. I love Jared Padalecki. I think those guys are great. I think Sam and Dean are two of the greatest characters ever. And Dean might be my favorite character in TV history. That's not what this list is about. But that being said, Supernatural's just been on too long. It had this great 5-season arc, and it just keeps going. It's still a good show, but it's not what it was that first 5 seasons. First 5 seasons, just based on those, it would be top 3. Number 7. I'm going to keep this to one word. Buffy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a movie starring Kristy Swanson, and when they announced they were making a series, I was like, oh, cool, Kristy Swanson's getting her own series. And then it was Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I'm like, what? Wait, the girl from All My Children? Really? She's going to play Buffy? I don't know about that. That was my reaction. And yes, I didn't watch All My Children. A friend of mine did. I was more into Young and the Restless, Bold and Beautiful somewhat, but General Hospital definitely, and Another World. Another World was my favorite. I couldn't miss it. I would have my VCR record it when I was at work and it was on, and then they canceled it because that was the first soap to fall, and I still think they killed it when Frankie died. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Buffy would eventually debut, and it didn't win me over the first season so much. The first season was kind of there. It's like, it's all right. I guess it's okay. Kind of like a Nancy Drew, but it's Buffy. And then it got way better. It just kept getting darker, and it kept getting better. And I'm one of the few, I think, that looked at season 7 as pretty good. It wasn't fantastic, but I thought it was pretty good. And I thought there were definitely some hiccups along the way. But I thought, for what it was fantastic. So, I liked Xena. Xena's not on the list. I'm not going to give it an honorable mention because I thought there were too many episodes of Xena that were kind of middling. And Hercules had that same problem as well. Although Autolycus, am I right? There's nothing Bruce Campbell that's on this list, but Bruce Campbell, anything he gives him is pretty good. Briscoe County Jr., I do have the complete series of that. Pretty good show. But I wanted to go with long-running shows. So I didn't go with anything that was really that short, minus... of course, Twin Peaks, which I took off the list when I remembered something else that I'm like, yeah, that kind of has to be there instead. And that kind of has to be there instead is the reason I'm wearing my geeky jerseys. As for geeky jerseys, they've discovered my channel here. And of course, on the hockey channel, I've advertised them as well. Any jersey I wear on here, it's from Geeky Jerseys. So Rick and Morty, amazing show. And not every episode's fantastic. There's the one episode this year which makes fun of Ocean's 11, not Orphan's 11. That's a mix of a show and a movie we don't want to see. But Ocean's 11 was that episode that made fun of Ocean's 11, it was okay. It's all right. They tried to do the same thing with the heist movie that they did with Inception, with the one, of course, with Scary Terry, which was a pretty funny episode. Although Scary Terry's the weakest part, I thought of that. But it fell flat. It was the only episode of Rick and Morty I've ever seen that I went to Yvonne after and I said, you don't need to watch this week's Rick and Morty. Nothing happened. Sorry. I didn't feel like it told us anything. It was just, this is a bunch of mean stuff that happened. The end. Which a lot of the show could be summed up that way, but I thought that episode was particularly like that, and I really didn't like the ending either. Which is unusual, because normally I love the endings of that show. Number 5. Oh, this is tough. Man, this is tough. Okay. Simpsons. Now, Simpsons, people are going to talk about how it's been on way too long. Yes. It's not funny anymore. It's still funny. It's not as funny as it was. It's not as good as it was. The animation is better, but the writing isn't as crisp. And this is going to happen when you've done 30 years. You run out of stuff to talk about. And I think Simpsons is there. I think it's been there for a while. So, based on some of those amazing seasons early, based on some of the amazing episodes, to this day, I can just sit down, I can watch Homer Simpson versus the City of New York, and I can laugh the entire time. I laugh in anticipation of the jokes that are coming. One of the funniest things is when he throws his wallet in the fire because he doesn't want New York to get it, and Lisa's like, My baby pictures are in there, and he just goes, "Don't you start." And it's just, to this day, "Don't you start" is something I use as a comeback to people based on that episode. There are so many things in Simpsons that I've incorporated into my life, and yeah, I don't know that there's very many days I don't quote Homer at least once. It's a great show, and yes, it has declined. That's why it's number 5 on the list rather than higher up. Because these 4, absolutely fantastic. Number 4, yeah, I'll go with this. I finally finished this show. So Venus, if you watch this video, you can now talk to me about what happened at the end. I actually waited until I had watched it with my wife. So when I met her, I had just finished season 4. Season 5 was coming out. And so I promised Yvonne, because we watched season 1, and she said, yeah, I really like this show. And I said, all right, I'll watch season 5 once we've watched seasons 1 through 4 together. It took until about a week ago for us to finally finish Orphan Black, because we never have any time. And so Orphan Black, absolutely great show. It was planned from the beginning, although this is my bone to pick with Orphan Black. It doesn't feel like it was planned from the beginning when you look at season 5. Season 5, there's some awkward moments in season 5 where I remember thinking, wait, they won that easily in that spot? And I'm talking about like certain things where it felt like, here's the happy ending. Here you go. Here you go. Okay. All right. People are going to be wondering where Letterkenny is on this list. Letterkenny's not on this list at this point in time. I'll throw it as an honorable mention. And again, this list is really difficult to get onto. It is. It's difficult to get onto. And yet Orphan Black's at number 4 because just for Donnie and Allison alone, and not only that, but Tatiana Maslany and her ability to just continually be somebody else in an like she just, I don't know how to describe this, but there were scenes where I'd go, okay, wait, we've watched 5 scenes now. She's been in every scene, and she's been a different clone in every scene. Holy crap, this is, and yet you don't think of it as being the same actress. There were certain clones that I thought got dropped too quickly. There wasn't enough of certain clones, I thought. And then the ending to me felt kind of tacked on. I'd be interested to know from people who watch the show how you felt about it. Because it felt kind of tacked on. Just a little bit. Yeah, Trailer Park Boys isn't on the list either. I'll go ahead and throw that in as an honorable mention. There's a lot of honorable mentions. Basically the guideline to get on here is: do I have episodes of the series? Have I obsessively watched it repeatedly? And is it something that's stuck with me and given me brand new vocabulary? So yeah, if I do this again in 5 years, odds are Letterkenny's probably in the top 10. And yeah, Trailer Park Boys still wouldn't be top 10 for me, but definitely honorable mention material. Orphan Black, that'll still be there 10 years from now. All right, number 3. Let's throw some British in here, shall we? A smart show knows when to leave. Fawlty Towers knew when to leave. Fawlty Towers knew when to leave. Honorable mention here to Mr. Bean and to Blackadder as well, because those were some great British shows. And Monty Python's Flying Circus, because why not? So, Fawlty Towers, I still laugh hysterically at a lot of the stuff on that show. And I'm well aware that by today's standards, you cannot say these things on television. By today's standards, Fawlty Towers doesn't go on regular TV. A lot of those jokes, censors are going, oh, you can't say that. No, you got to change that word. Oh, that can't be. Oh, God, no. And yet this was on TV, G-rated. Everybody could sit and watch it 30 years ago. Wasn't really considered a big deal. Some of the things, especially I'm thinking of the Major, there were a lot of things said by the Major that you go, oh, wow, you couldn't get away with that now. And just the entire character of Manuel, I don't know that that could work now. I don't know that the character of Manuel could work now in a TV show. And Fawlty Towers was at the perfect time, and it was kind of the perfect show. And I can't say anything bad about it. The only reason it's 3 is it just hasn't had the same amount of a run as some of these other shows. That being said, number 2, I know this is going to make people say, pardon me, The Office. And yes, it's the US version. The UK version's very good as well. It's a very good show. But The Office, that was must-watch TV. That was, okay, I'm going to sit and watch The Office. I'm going to binge watch. That was the first show I can think of that I really sat down and binge watched, where it was a marathon that kind of drew me into it. And I went, all right, sold. I'm done. The funny thing is, the first season of The Office, I watched an episode or two, and I was like, oh, Steve Carell's doing this. He left The Daily Show to do this. I don't know. I don't know that this is going to work. And then it did. And it became the beast that it's been. It is a fantastic show. Oh, you're waiting for Friends? Yeah, Friends isn't on the list. You're waiting on Seinfeld? That's definitely not on the list. Seinfeld had one really good season. One list that you guys are going to get at some point is TV shows that I feel had one truly fantastic season. Watch for Dexter on that list, the season with John Lithgow. But The Office, I know it faded towards the end. I know when Michael left that, it wasn't as good. It still had funny moments. Yes, the characters changed. Yeah, there were episodes where Jim's just a jerk. And there were some morphing going on with characters where sometimes Dwight didn't act like Dwight. Andy had a complete change in his character more than once. I didn't like Andy and Aaron together. I never liked them together. I actually thought he was obnoxious to her a lot of the time. And I thought Pam was mean-spirited at times as well. But that being said, it still was a really good show. And it was a good show for a long time. So it's number 2. So what's number 1? I remember when I started watching Doctor Who. And my daughter caught me watching it on Netflix. And she said, oh, no, Dad, don't do that. And I said to her, what? And she said, don't be a Doctor Who fan. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, I go to school with these kids, and this was her senior year, and she said, they obsess on Doctor Who. Everything is Doctor Who. That's all they ever talk about. Don't turn into that. I don't think I will. I was about 3 or 4 episodes into the first season, and I said, but it's pretty good, though. I said, if you sit and watch it, it's pretty good. And I liked Chris Eccleston a lot. I'd always liked him in anything he'd been in. And I got a kick out of it. Now, I had not been a huge fan of Doctor Who since I was a little kid. I remember the 4th Doctor. Everybody knows Tom Baker is the Doctor. Tom Baker is the Doctor. So I remembered that Doctor and it being kind of cheesy, and it was all right. It wasn't great. But, it was okay. That being said, Doctor Who became my favorite show very, very quickly. And throughout, it was amazing. Now, here's the problem. I am not sold on the current ensemble cast of Doctor Who. While most fans this year are all excited about the return of a villain that they've been wanting to see, I'm not a big fan of it. I think that reveal, and I'm not going to say it because for people who haven't seen it yet, it's a spoiler, but I think it's cheap. I think last year, so they bring in Jodie Whittaker, who I think is fantastic as the Doctor. She is the character. Absolutely, she is the character. While I like her a lot, I think she's a great actress. She's done some great work. Her episode of Black Mirror was a great one as well. She can really act the hell out of it. And I like the outfit she wears. It feels like the Doctor. She feels like a throwback to David Tennant. But the first series was all about, okay, we're all new villains. We're not going to look like the old Doctor Who. Well, it didn't feel like it either. And then they had the episode with the Dalek. I go, okay, so that's a throwback. And now their first villain in a 2-parter is a throwback. And I think, on some level, I kind of feel like they're chickening out. Like all the criticism they took last year, they went, okay, the fans don't like this. The ratings are dropping. We got to throw in all the old villains. So I've already seen, like, we're going to see some, I don't know about Santarans, but eventually we'll see them, I would imagine. And we're going to get a Cyberman appearance this year as well. And it just feels like, okay, so I think there's room to do something different. I think they went way too far out there with it. And I think they alienated a lot. I know by the end of the season last year, I didn't care. And it was there because you're going to watch Doctor Who, I guess. And it's too bad because it has been my favorite show. And when I look back to some of the old episodes with Tennant, with Matt Smith, um, it is stirring. It is fantastic, and Capaldi had some fantastic moments as well. My favorite Doctor is still Peter Capaldi. That's why my Doctor Who TARDIS that I have has the number 12 on the back, because that's my Doctor's the 12th. I haven't really got into the 13th. I still don't understand, and yet, since it's 3 series and then normally they replace the Doctor, that means we're over a third of the way through Jodie Whittaker's story. I still don't understand her version of the Doctor, really. I don't understand what we're doing. It just feels kind of meh. There wasn't really any development of the character in that series. There wasn't really a whole lot. So hopefully, with this new villain being the old villain, hopefully that means that we're going to see some more development and some more emotion and some more, I don't know, less of the cutesy, quirky stuff and more actual development of the character. But Doctor Who's my favorite. So let me know your favorites in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit your like and subscribe buttons if you're passing your way through and you just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.